Hi guys, it's Krystle back again with a new video, and today I'm going to be discussing my experience at the Telluride Association Summer Program, otherwise known as TASP. This has been a very highly requested video, and I hope it can help all of you who are looking to apply for TASP next summer, for the summer after that summer, if you're really motivated, anything like that. So, if you want to learn more about what TASP is and why the heck I'm even making this video, I already made a video about how to get in, which you can see right up here. Hopefully I'm pointing in the right direction. We shall see. Anyway, today I'm going to be getting completely honest with you guys about my experience at TASP and what it was actually like there. And at the risk of sounding like a capital Y YouTuber, be sure to stay tuned until the end of the video for my first big announcement on this channel. And just really quickly, I want to talk a little bit about something that you guys might notice. So I talk with my hands a lot. You probably had no idea about that. And you guys might see that I have some bruises on my wrists. I practice Aikido. It's a Japanese martial art and there's a lot of wrist grabbing. I'm all good. It's fine. You should see the other guy. Just wanted to make you guys aware so you don't think I'm being held captive by some evil kidnapper or something like that. So, back to our regularly scheduled programming. TASP is seen as kind of a golden ticket in some circles that can get you into the Ivy League and other similar top 10, top 20 colleges, and that's because they're known to admit a lot of students with similar qualities to the kinds that these top colleges look for in their applicants. But unless you've actually been through the whole process, it's really hard to understand why that is or what TASP is actually like. That's why I'm making this video for you guys today. When I was applying for TASP, all I really knew was that it's a high school program for rising seniors. It's humanities-based. It fosters intellectual discussion at a level that's extremely hard to find at the high school level, and that practically every single person on the internet that I could track down who had been through the process called it life-changing. Naturally, I was hooked. My experience at TASP was indeed life-changing, but it was also much more complex and visceral than I had ever seen anyone on the internet discussing when I was applying. And I wanted to kind of fill that niche a little bit, talk more about what the experience was like than just saying that it was life-changing. So, buckle up, you guys, because we're going for a ride. So I want to start this off by explaining just what the heck all of these people, myself included, are talking about when we say that TASP was life-changing. At the most basic level, the kind of instruction and discussion you get in the seminars at TASP is way above what's taught at just about any high school in America, even the very top ones. Personally, I attended the Stanford University Online High School, which at the time that I was there was ranked number 2 on niche, and I still got my mind blown regularly at TASP. At the same time, from what I saw, everyone kind of got their mind blown in a slightly different way. For me, some of the appeal was that I had already been lucky enough to have had some of these intellectual discussions and experiences that you have at TASP, but now I was able to do it in person as opposed to over Skype or in my online classrooms at my virtual high school. So obviously, this is pretty distinct from what other people's experiences entailed, and they each brought their own life stories and preconceptions to the table as well, which colored their own understanding of TASP, and in turn made TASP the diverse experience that it was for all of us, even as we were all pretty much doing the same thing as one another each day. So to get into what life was like at TASP, seminars are 3 hours every morning. First there were 9 to 12, and then there are hours of readings every day, and usually a written assignment every week at least. Though in my case, because I was doing a creative writing workshop in my year, there were a lot more written assignments. Basically, we wrote daily, in seminar, outside of seminar, all that jazz. The topics of the seminars are very similar to actual college classes, and when I was applying to Columbia University, where I would eventually end up, I noticed that in their course descriptions for their creative writing major, one of the classes actually had a very similar description to that creative writing workshop that I took at TASP, which was all about trauma and memory and narrative, and I ended up actually referencing that on my Columbia application to kind of say, hey, look at this. We value learning and teaching similar subjects and topics. And really, the classes at TASP were just as deconstructionist as you might expect from an upper-level college-type course, in that We questioned the nature of truth and dissected the different ways that authors can convey it, basically, in different types of narratives before being challenged to do the exact same thing ourselves in our own writing. We workshopped literature and dissected each other's pieces in both a really granular sentence and word level type of way, and then also by looking at the big picture, sort of zooming in and out on topics of discussion like a camera lens. We talked about things I had never considered before, like who has the right to tell a certain story, and the difference between writing your own story and writing as the witness to someone else's story. Don't get me wrong though, we had some pretty amazing discussions outside of seminar too. Like I remember once in, I think the very first week after a particularly heavy class session, a bunch of us went out to this gazebo that was behind the frat house that we lived in. More on that later. And we just sat in a circle on the benches and kind of went around, and each person took a turn discussing something difficult that had happened in our lives recently. And it was a response to what we had been speaking about in class, but it also really brought us together in this way that was so much more intimate than I think can even happen in a lot of friendships that can last a lifetime. So there was definitely this sense of time being compounded and becoming very close with people very quickly. To my understanding, this is something that tends to happen at TASP a lot in general, not just my year in particular. Like I was talking to another TASPer recently who said that some people in her seminar went and did yoga on this hill where they were staying, and they asked each other 50 questions designed to get to know each other better, and it was just this really amazing experience for her. So I definitely wouldn't say that sort of intimacy was exclusive to my TASP. I'd say you can probably expect it at yours as well, and for me, it was absolutely one of the best parts of the whole experience. So we were learning the material intimately in seminar, and we were learning each other intimately outside of seminar, and there wasn't really a stark separation between all that knowledge. So knowing each other came into play when we were critiquing each other's work in my seminar, and then the discussions that we had about that day's readings would always creep into conversations back at the house. There was just something so special about learning at such an intense level with people who you're also getting to know so intensely. It's this kind of mutual learning that's taking place, and everyone is beginning from the same starting point. So it was a starting point that we all wanted and worked really hard for, and that made it even more different and special and intimate, and all these words that I've already used, but that I think are just so indicative of the community at TASP. So, yes, life-changing. However, that same intensity can definitely take a toll on people, and TASP is incredible, but not perfect. In my seminar, the topic was so weighty and personal for a lot of people that my classmates took it upon themselves to work with the instructors to make modifications to the course, which I think speaks to the independence and strong personalities you'll come up against at TASP. Also, there are a lot of unusual rules at TASP, like no romantic relationships, which is relatively standard, but then also no official best friendships between just two people, since the whole purpose of TASP is to create a community that involves everyone. And the idea is that if two people are all buddy-buddy to the exclusion of others, that's in direct contrast to the overall goal. Unfortunately, from my experiences and what I've heard from some other TASPers, this can tend to not work out super well, as you can't force people to not get close to each other or to not just click with certain people more than others. And moreover, when you're living in a frat house, as I did, or dorms or something like that, in incredibly close quarters for 6 weeks, that's a month and a half, with people your own age with whom you're actively trying every single day to create a functioning, self-sufficient community that works together to decide on everything from community service projects to buying fans for the house to keep out the summer heat, as opposed to just existing passively in the same space, things can get pretty heated. Tensions and hormones can run high, and in some ways that's one of the most important parts of TASP, learning how to manage those tensions and move forward in a mature capacity. I was really lucky that my TASP's factotums, which is basically Telluride's word for counselors, were very active and consistent with making sure that people addressed their beef that they had with others up front instead of being passive aggressive and talking behind other people's backs, which is such a necessary life skill to learn and which improved the quality of our relationships immensely. Now, this didn't always exactly manifest itself in the most fun ways. I distinctly remember a TASP-wide meeting where we stayed up, factotums and all, until around 2 in the morning, just hashing out any and all beef that there was to be hashed, which was really visceral in the moment, but which did improve the rest of the time that we had left together. Another thing which we had to address at my TASP, which seems to be a relatively common thread across other TASPs as well, was literally just basic hygiene amongst teenagers. Keeping bathrooms and eating areas clean, respecting different people's standards of cleanliness, that kind of thing. At TASP, you're going to be on kitchen duty every few days or so, and that was definitely one area where our sense of community floundered, I would say. However, like I said, my TASP really fostered a community where these issues could be spoken about frankly and resolved, which is why I even feel comfortable discussing them here, because TASP showed me how addressing a problem head on instead of burying it under the rug is honestly the only way to resolve it. And I really am very glad that we did focus so much on autonomy and taking responsibility for your actions, because at TASP, everything you do is because you all decided on it as a community. Every Sunday night, we had meetings where people would bring suggestions to the floor, and we'd vote on them. We had different committees that served different purposes, like keeping the house neat, organizing fun things to do, all that kind of thing. And each committee had to bring suggestions each week, though individuals could propose suggestions as well. I was on the memory committee, or MEMCOM as we called it, where we were essentially in charge of making memories and making sure that people had tangible reminders of those memories. So we ordered sweatshirts, we made a video, we handed out buttons, lots of fun stuff. And we had to bring every one of those things that we were doing to the community on Sunday nights to say, hey, what do you guys think of this? We had a pretty standardized way of doing it, which we called BERT, which is an acronym for Be It Resolved That, or actually, since this is probably going to be reversed, Be It Resolved That. Essentially, we had to say, Be It Resolved That, or BERT, whatever it is we wanted to do. So BERT, we hand out buttons to everyone to commemorate TASP, that kind of thing. So those Sunday night meetings were a pretty formal affair overall, and one person would volunteer to sort of be in charge and keep everything running smoothly, and then another person would volunteer to be the secretary and keep records for posterity and that kind of thing, I guess. And everyone would vote on every suggestion unless you wanted to abstain from voting for some reason, though that was pretty rare. TASP touts itself as creating democratically self-governing communities, and this is really how we did that. The meetings could be kind of dry, but I'll be the first to acknowledge that they were necessary for our functioning as a cohort. They were the reason we got anything done outside of classes. Otherwise, anarchy. There were one or two things that our factotums or Telluride itself organized for us, like a 4th of July picnic, a talk on applying to college, a discussion on socioeconomic diversity, and a lecture on the importance of sleep, of all things. But beyond that, we organized everything ourselves. We did 2 big community service projects, one at a library and one at a nursing home. We had a water balloon fight in front of the frat house, we went canoeing, we attended a production of A Midsummer Night's Dream in the park, we had a slam poetry reading, we had a dance party. I mean, the list goes on and on. Every way that we kept ourselves occupied outside of seminar besides homework was of our own volition and contributed to ourselves growing closer as a community, which was pretty awesome, if I do say so myself. I think the main takeaway here is that if you want to apply to TASP, you absolutely should, because you can rest assured that you're going to learn a lot, both from your professors and from the other TASPers. However, each TASP is very different in that each creates its own culture based on what each TASPer puts into it. That was a lot of each just now. Anyway, it truly is what you make of it. Personally, I'm a little more introverted, but I really pushed myself to put myself out there at my TASP and try to engage with as many different people as possible, and I'm so glad that I did. TASP definitely isn't perfect, but I think that both the good and the hard parts were some of the most important lessons that I have ever learned so far in my life. So, before I go, like I said at the very beginning of the video, I have an announcement for you guys! I think it's pretty cool, and hopefully you all will too. So this channel is still but a small fledgling bird, just trying to fly, spreading its wings, so Every 30 subscribers, I'm critiquing one person's essay. You can enter at the link right down there. At the very top of the description, you can't miss it, and you just click the link and enter your email in the pop-up, and you're automatically entered. This week's winner is the lovely and fabulous Freya, and who knows? Next time it could be you. So that's all I have for you guys today. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, and ostensibly Twitter, but I don't really post there much, so it might be slim pickings. But if you guys want me to up my tweeting game, I'm glad to do so. Just let me know down in the comments. Comment what types of videos you want to see in the future, and be sure to stay tuned for my upcoming stats reveal where I talk about the grades and test scores that got me into my dream college, Columbia University. Otherwise, that's all for now, folks. Bye. So, when I was applying to TASP, so buckle up, you guys. Top 10, top 20 colleges. And you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook. So, TASP, oh my god. If you haven't been